You know what? Next time, start with Finn and work backwards.
Do you want to do that?
That's cool.
Oh, great. I'm doing it.
Yep. Now you're going to introduce now.
All of you?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
Hello, I'm Orland. I'm here at the APC with Hannah and Finn. And yeah, we're just kind of doing a kind of mini interview with Hannah. So firstly, thanks for coming to this. Yeah. I mean, it's not like a majorly important event, right? You know, you've
really
taken time.
important.
you've taken time out of your lunch to come and talk to us. We have a short list of questions. It's 3, so it's short. The first question was, when you were 16, you know, we're 16. When you were 16, what were you doing with your life? Where were you? You know, could you?
Well, I was at high school in Brisbane. I grew up in sunny Meanjin in Brisbane. And I was a bit of a rascal, to be honest. I would not come to probably a convergence like this. I grew up in a family on an urban herb nursery around a lot of social justice activists, and it was very much my world. And my favourite thing was not going to things like this, that my parents would go, hey, come to this. And I think as young people, it's a common story that we like to find our own pathway. And in my case, I had to find this kind of world on my own terms. So when I left home, travelled Australia and met certain people, made great friends and had those opportunities on my own terms. And so I think that might be a common story. I was very deeply interested in these issues, but I wasn't quite sure where my place was and how to get to that place. And it took me a little bit, but we all have unique ways, don't we?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I've got another question. So now you're thinking about your 16-year-old self. How would you pitch permaculture in 30 seconds to us 16-year-olds, teenagers?
All right. Well, I've thought about this a lot. So if I was imagining speaking to myself or to any other young people, I go, permaculture is solution-based activism to create the world that you want on your terms. It is an empowering framework to navigate this busy, challenging world towards a solution-orientated future, which benefits everybody.
Yeah, right. That's good. That's awesome. We did hear someone say it's like a lens to view whatever you want through. So you know, I'm quite interested in transport. You know, efficient like cycling. You know, EVs too. And I did notice you mentioned you had a friend who started up a secondhand import EV business, and I was really curious. Could you tell us more about that? Like, what's the business called?
Sure.
You know, how does it work?
Yeah. Well, I have to make a disclaimer. My friend is my husband, and then 2 of our dear friends, and so it's 3 people I love very much. I was sure about that. So I know them very well. Interestingly, though, they started that business not knowing anything about EVs or cars. Full stop. They knew how to drive them. That was about it. They started it because we were really worried about the politics of the day, which was maybe 4 years ago, 2019-ish. And like what we're really worried about climate change, and there's a huge energy crisis in that we are just mining and burning everything. We need to address transport systems. And so they went, no one is doing this in Australia. We are so far behind globally. Let's just have a crack. And they knew nothing about cars. They knew nothing about international business regulations and intricacies. But they did it anyway. And they're smart people. It's worked it out. They've had a lot of mistakes on the way. And I'm sure there'll be lots more. But it's cool because permaculture is a lens. You know, as you say, you can place it onto anything you're interested in. Whether that's transport, cars, gardening, building, economics, everything. And that's its strength. It can travel anywhere. And so, that business is called the Good Car Company. Their aim is one of the first things they ask people who go, oh, I want to buy a car. They go, do you really need a car? Have you thought about other options? I'm like, that's the superpower. That's the attitude, because people often think, oh, I just need to switch out my car, whack some solar panels on, she'll be right. Like, actually, we need to change our behaviour as well as change some of our infrastructure. And so that's the power. They're not trying to flog cars just for a quick buck. They're actually trying to sell a different way of life. And part of that selling is going, you might not even need to buy anything from us. Have you considered that? And that's a cool business model. Maybe.
Well, I think that's all we had to ask you, but thank you so much for speaking with us. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me. So
Yeah.
nice to speak with
you
you
so
both.
much.
Yeah.
Do you feel icky? You did so well.